Today I'm going to show you why I consider the Headrush Prime to be a pro tool for live usage. When it comes to playing live, I think we guitar players, we're kind of very nitpicky about what our equipment should do for us and what our amp or in this case our modeling unit should be capable of. And there are a couple of things which I find always lacking on the cheaper units. So if you are following my channel, which I hope you do, by the way, if you are not subscribed yet, please consider subscribing to my channel. You may know that I own a lot of the modeling units in all price ranges, and I was using the Mooer GE300 live because it offers a lot of features which I appreciate. But recently I tried out the Headrush Prime in a live situation, and especially after the latest firmware update, I was really convinced that this unit is really well, a pro tool which has some features which other units don't have, especially the cheaper units. And today I would like to show you what I mean. So here's the editor, and that is the first thing I would like to mention. This unit has a built-in Wi-Fi adapter, so you can access it from your smartphone or also from your PC, and you can access the basically the functions of the unit to the conventional browser, like in this case Firefox, and that is very helpful. So if it's a tablet, if it's a phone, or of course it has a very comfortable touch screen which you can also use. So it is very intuitive if you would like to change something on the fly. Of course I don't change my sounds in a live situation usually, but if I wanted to, even with the higher priced products like the Fractal Audio FM9, it's way more complicated and to do so than with this unit here. So you have this very intuitive screen. When it comes to the effects, there is another thing which I would like to mention in a second. But first of all, my approach is always to build an effects chain for one song that covers all the different variations of tones which I need within the song. And that is my effects chain here. And if you would like to do this, you have to have a unit that is very powerful, so that you can add lots of effects. And also you need the scenes function, which you find here. Sorry, not here. You can see it here. The unit itself, it has 12 foot switches, but 2 are for up and down, and 2 are for tuner and tap tempo, which are also features which you need in a live situation, in my opinion. So there are 8 foot switches left, which are programmable here. And as you can see, you can assign scenes, which I did here. And also you can assign foot switches to trigger certain effects by themselves. But let's go to the scene. Here it's the lead scene, for example. And then you can say which effects are turned on in the scene, which are turned off, which shouldn't change maybe. And you could also add different settings of effect blocks if you're choosing different presets here in the scenes. So that makes it very powerful. And you have up to 8 scenes here. I'm using, as you can see, currently 6 scenes. And then I'm using 2 for the effects here. But the scenes function is one thing which usually you don't find on the cheaper units. Some have it, but not to the extent on the flexibility like this unit here. By the way, I'm using a preset from my latest preset pack for the unit. If you like my tones, please contact me on Facebook or Instagram, and you can get the preset pack for very few money. So scenes function is something which I personally need, and yeah, the more expensive units, they have it, like the Fractal Audio FM9 and also the what is it called here, the newer DSP called Cortex. But yeah, even the Boss GT-1000 doesn't have it, which is a shame. So yeah, this unit here is very superior to most of the other units regarding the scenes function. Another thing which is very nice, you have also the pedals here, which are triggered by the expression pedal, and yeah, it's a very well, it feels very solid if you're using the pedal. That is also something which maybe most guitarists will appreciate. It comes with a decent expression pedal, not with a small one like maybe the cheaper units. Yeah. Another thing is, of course, the effects and tone quality. But I would say this unit doesn't sound necessarily much better than the other units in that price range, but it has the tone amp clone function, which I used, and I cloned my favorite tones, and yeah, the amp clone function works very well. And recently they added some features which really made it a pro tool for me, and that is, let me show you some of the effects. So here you have the tape echo, and they added this little thing here, which is basically an EQ, parametric EQ, and a high and a low cut. Currently I'm not using it in this effect because it sounds great, but usually that is something which they added in most of the effects and the amp block, and that makes it very powerful. And from my experience, only the more expensive units have that function. The thing why it's so important is in a live situation, you have to be very careful with the bass and high frequencies. So especially with the delay, I like to cut off the highs so that it doesn't get in the way. And in this case, it's cutting the highs of the whole signal. But anyway, it's really a great feature. And of course, you have also the input and the output gain here. And in this case, it's a delay, so I use it for my lead scene. And what I also like to do is I would like to raise the volume a little bit, about 2 or 3 dB, when switching from rhythm to lead. So in other words, if I go to the lead scene, then only the echo is engaged, but it gives you a volume boost. So yeah, that is something which, in my opinion, is a feature which you need in a live situation. And if you look at the other effects, like for example here the shimmer, or even the EQ, which is already very powerful. As you can see here, it comes also with this. And as I'm using the EQ here in front of the amp to boost basically the signal or to cut something off, I'm using this. I don't use anything fancy here. And yeah, sounds really nice. And when it comes to the amp, then it's even more powerful, because here you can also play around with the input gain. So basically what you can do is you can adjust the overall gain, amount of gain, just by using the input gain here. If you're using a guitar with maybe weaker pickups, you can raise the input gain. Output gain is also, of course, very helpful. And you have the low and the high cut. And that is something which I always do in a live situation. I cut the lows and also the highs usually. The reason why I don't do it that drastically here is because I incorporated that already in my amp clone. So here you have a way to adjust your live tone. Very easy, very flexible. Imagine it has a touch screen, so you can move these points around just in a second. You don't have to fiddle around with different numbers and sliders and whatever. So basically adding this EQ and high and low cut and almost all of the effects here, even in the whammy pedal here, it makes a huge difference in my opinion. Then there are some other things which you find in cheaper units, but which you also need in a live situations. For example, the sync function in the here in the splicer or in the tremolo effect. For example, here in the tremolo you can set it to a certain rate, 1/16, or of course here in the delay. And I personally like to play around with different delay settings. So in my patches I have usually two settings. One is this one, which I use just to create background noise when playing leads. Around 300 milliseconds delay. The other one is rhythmic delay, where you can tap in the tempo, and it's So as I said, you need enough slots for all your favorite effects, and also in my case some instances of the same effect. For example, 2 delays and maybe 2 choruses, and so the effects chain here is very long. I cannot incorporate all effects which I may need in every situation, but it's definitely enough for everything which I need within one song. And so also you don't have to sacrifice a lot of the slots for EQs, because you have all the EQs added in the effects blocks here. But I'm still using EQs here for boosting the amp or cutting off some lows from the guitar, and also I'm using another EQ for my clean tones. So if you would like to check out my patches and the layout, then I'd recommend to check out my video about that, about my preset pack. It's called Victoria, I think volume 5 or something. Gives you the best high gain tones ever, and also some nice acoustic simulations here. So of course there are some other features like maybe MIDI capability and what else? Yeah, you have a proper power supply, not these very thin, cheap external power supplies. So that is also something which is which even the higher end units don't always bring with. So for example, the newer DSP Quad Cortex is a unit where I was struggling using it live because it has such a poor power supply, and even the Boss GT-1000 doesn't come with a proper power supply. So yeah, I think they did a great job with the Headrush Prime, and also considering the price point. So that's it for today. Hope you like it, and yeah, give me a thumbs up, ring the bell, and subscribe to my channel. See you.